name is Brandon Groce. And we are the Game Changers. Designers, creatives alike. We are in a world that runs on value. Our next designs will be the shiniest. Our next animation will be the most buttery. Ladies and gentlemen, Game Changers, let the games begin.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Editor X Live with me, your host, Brandon Groce. I'm super excited to have you guys for another session to live learn with me and to do some really amazing things in the Editor X platform. First off, I want to say hello to everybody in the live chat. Hello, how are you guys doing? Let me know where you guys are coming from, how you all are feeling, and if you guys are excited today, because I know I am. So with that said, let's go and hop over to my screen, show you guys what we're going to be doing today. What's going on, Kimberly? Kimberly had asked also another amazing question for those who are watching. There will be files down in the description if you guys want to follow along with this project. So if you want to go ahead and do that, download that asset library, go ahead and do that right now. So, and also if you have questions that you want to ask pertaining to this, you guys can follow and find our Discord channel down in the description as well. All right, so let's move on to my screen. So what we have today is we are going to be recreating this amazing masterpiece by LazyCar, also for LazyInterfaces. I saw this on on Dribbble, and I was like, you know what, this would be really cool to spin together very quickly in Editor X, and so I've taken the liberty of doing that already so far. So what I've done here is I've just put together this project. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. We have some animations. We have pretty much the equivalent of what we had over in Scene on Dribbble. Now, except with one exception. With his button here, he has the buttons kind of display out like this, but I kind of took a little bit of a different approach, and then I went with a little bit of a hover animation instead. I thought that was a little bit more fun. So with that said, let's go ahead and start building this puppy from scratch. Again, if you guys want to follow along with this project, you can go in the link down in the description, download the asset library, and start building this out in Editor X as well. All right, so let's go ahead and make a new project. I'm going to go back to my Editor X here, and I am going to start off with a blank page. So I'm just going to go to Pages, Add New, go to Page, and I'm just going to type Live Session here for myself. Now this pace, or this live session, is going to be a little bit faster paced if you guys were here yesterday. This is basically for the intermediate advanced Editor X users. So if you guys are brand new to Editor X, go to yesterday's session. Again, you can find that on this channel as well if you guys are watching here on YouTube. We're gonna go a little bit faster today, but if you have questions, again, join our Discord. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is, first off, as I open the new page, I immediately am going to delete the menu. We don't need that. We're gonna go ahead and make our own. Next step is I'm going to select our section here, and I'm going to immediately set the height of this to 100 VH, so we get that 100% vertical height. And I'm going to make this page be 3 sections, or at least this section I'm going to have 3 rows. Hey, what's going on, Rune from the live chat, checking again, looking forward to learning more stuff. I'm glad, my friend. We will definitely learn some things today. So basically 3 rows. I'm going to hit apply, and now going back to Dribbble, so how we're organizing this is, I'm thinking this is a grid, that menu is a grid, and this whole section down here is a grid as well. So I'm going to right click into this quick add. I'm going to drop a title just like this. I'm going to edit text. We're going to do 90 pixels. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you are looking for this font, it is Monument Extended. I've added this to the asset library as well, so you guys can go ahead and use this. We're just going to go ahead and type in our wellness partner. Just like that. And I'm going to set this immediately, the width of this, to max content, so we have a nice width. I don't want this ever to really stack unless we're going into mobile and tablet, and then we'll take care of it then. Next thing I'm going to go ahead and quick add, I'm going to get I'm actually gonna pull out a menu here. So I'm gonna go to my add elements. I'm going to go to quick add and drag out a menu into our second row here. Now, for those of you who have not already created pages, you probably will only have one menu or one menu item that says home. To get more of these, all you need to do is go to your pages here and create your other pages, just like this. After that, once you've made all the pages you need, you'll go to manage menu, add new item, and you'll add site pages just like this, and you'll just select the items or the pages that you actually want to have showcased on this menu. So I'm going to hit apply. We've already done that portion. Now what I want to do starting off is I want to kind of condense these rows to the exact content that is within them. We have a new person in the chat. We have a Kwaun Dinya. Glad to have you. I'm new here. My friend, glad to have you. Today's going to be a little bit fast, but if you want to just check out and see what is capable in EditorX, highly recommend you do that. But I also, anybody else who is new, highly recommend that you guys check out our Discord and our more beginner-friendly content, because we're going to be speeding through today. It's a little bit more of an intermediate live session, but we're glad you're here and you found the content. All right. And we're going to leave somewhat of the Q&A so that we can focus on the design build. And yeah, so thank you guys. All right, so I'm going to go back to my section. I'm going to change my grid layout. Go to advanced mode. And like I said, I want to condense these rows to the exact content height of whatever is inside them. So right now you guys can see they're min-max right now. We're going to go ahead and click on that and immediately just set them to max content for both of our top rows here. Again, you guys in the intermediates who have been in EditorX probably know this, but again, it really just, whatever is within those rows, the height shrinks to the exact size of whatever content is in there, and it helps us not have to deal with the math. Up next, we are going to go here and for this third row, and we are going to set this to auto for right now. So at least it sets its height to whatever we're going to put down there. So we'll worry about that later. So up next, what I am going to do is we have, taking a look back at this, we have our menu to the left and we have two buttons, our login and sign up. So let's go ahead and add that in. Now we do, if you guys look really closely, our menu is going a little bit above our row here. So let's go into our inspector and let's try to fit this exactly within, you know what, there we go. So anytime especially if you have max content, that row that we have max content applied to, you really should only be getting, you should only be getting get the exact same height. So because I see that this is going over a little bit, I know that there's a margin discrepancy. So I'm going to hit 0 and just basically zero everything out in the margins that are within the inspector that are for our menu. And so now it fits nice and snug within our little row here. I'm going to set this to left align in that row so we basically make space for our buttons that we're going to be adding over here on the right. And to do that, I'm going to right click, I'm going to quick add, I'm going to add a button. Make sure it's placed in this row here, and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm just going to, actually before I duplicate it, I'm actually going to change this button, and then once we get it to basically the design that we want, then we'll go ahead and duplicate it. So I'm going to go back to my inspector so I can actually edit this button. I'm going to go to the design, border, or rather the corners. We don't want any rounded here. So I'm going to set the corners to 0 pixels. And I am going to set the minimum height to 100% height, so it actually fits that entire row height. And I think for right now, we'll set the width of this button to 200 pixels. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate this and make sure that the reason that when I duplicated the button got so big is if we see here in the inspector for that button is trying to expand both not only into the second row but into the third. So the easiest thing to fix that, just popping that back into the second row, and I'm going to right align it so that it Let me see, where did it go? Going to my layers. We have start now. All right, it had gone to, I guess I kind of lost it here. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this. Hold on one second, guys. I think I'm just going to copy and paste it and move it, so at least I can see what happens to it. Again, I'm going to put it into the second row here, and I need to change the minimum height because now it's at 5%. I want it at 100. I'm going to left align it so we have it in this corner here. Again, I need to put it back in the second row. And now let's go ahead and change the actual word. So we want sign up in our most right button here. So I'm going to click on the button, change text. I'm going to do sign up. And this button will be, we're going to change it to a white button. Just like this. Changing all of our settings in our inspector. We're going to go to our text. We're going to change, we don't want this to be bold. We want the color to be black. And we're going to change the text in a second too. But we're going to go to border here. We're going to set the width to about 1. Text size, we're going to keep it 16, but we're going to change this to, we're going to set it to monument. Now, I've already done this in the actual, I have a theme set up. So if you guys are using the asset library, all you need to do is use heading 6, and that should give you the exact size, etc. for all of the elements within the menu. But essentially what that is basically monument light, and it's 16 pixels. So I'm going to do that for both the menu and my buttons here. Alright, going to my theme, heading 6, there we go. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to select my menu here. Holding shift, I'm going to select my start now button, and I'm going to actually turn this to be login. There we go. And are we doing capitals? Yes, we're doing capitals. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna select all of these holding shift, selecting my menu, holding shift, selecting login and sign up. And I want to put all of this in a container, just like this. So now all of this is in a container. Now, again, things have shifted. What we need to do is make sure that this container is in the correct row here. So it's moved back up into the first and second row. We just want it in the second. And what we want to do from here is we want to, our button kind of malfunctioned. So let's go ahead and fix this. The height, again, we want it 100%. Okay, and our width, we're gonna do 250 because we want to give a little bit more attention to our button here. From here, what we're gonna go ahead and do is this container, we're gonna apply a grid so we have 3 columns. We're gonna give our menu a column, we're gonna give our login button a column, and we're gonna give our sign up button a column so that everything is nice and organized, and especially when we start getting down to mobile and tablet, things are just a lot more organized. Even just when we get into responsiveness, things are a lot more organized. So I'm going to apply a grid. We're going to do a 3x1. And so now what we need to do is we need to start pushing these elements into their own column. So how we're going to go ahead and do that is, first off, I'm going to select my menu, open the inspector. So far, it looks like it's spreading across 2 of the grid cells. We don't want that. We want it in the first one. And it's going to squeeze itself, which is totally fine. I'm going to set the width of this to 100. We'll fix this in a second. The next thing is we're going to go to log in. We're going to set this to not be in the third column. We're going to set this to be in the second. And we're going to keep our third button in the third column. Now what we want to do is we want, just like we've done with our rows to begin with, making things nice and slug height-wise. Nice and snug. What we want to do for our main container here, or our menu container, which we're actually going to name it right now. Going into my layers, main container, or menu container, sorry. Menu. All right. So I'm going to select our menu container, go back to our change grid layout here, advanced mode. And now that we have basically our menu in our first column, our login in our second, and our sign up in our third, we don't need all this space. We want to constrict each column to fit each button or element that we have within it. So instead of one FR, basically an equivalent amount of size of, we don't want our columns to be equivalent widths. We want them to basically understand and match the width of what's inside it. So again, our beloved max content, we're going to do that for our second column here and our third column here as well. Boom. And so now we have a perfect amount of space for our login, our sign up, and our main menu spreads just like we wanted. Now there is a little bit of basic, there's some space in here that we don't want. So let's go ahead and hit done and see what's going on with our login button. It seems like there's some margin here that we have not added. So, and part of the process, guys, is making sure that as you're building things, if something doesn't look right, you basically diagnose why something happened, and basically like, oh, well, obviously Editor X is telling this button to, once I've clicked on it, it looks like there's some space here. So let's go to the inspector. Let's see what's happening. There's about 10% margin that we do not want. So I'm going to go ahead and zero that out. Perfect. So now we're looking pretty good. All I want to change here is I'm going to go to our title here. Instead of the regular monument extended, I'm going to set this to bold. And I'm going to actually make sure that we have some margin on the top and the bottom to give us some space. And everything else I'm going to kind of zero out. So we have some margin on the left, don't want that. We have some margin at the top, but we're going to give it about 25 pixels at the top and 25 pixels at the bottom. And you know what? Let's see how much space we had here. I think we had about like 50. So let's go ahead and add that. We're going to add 50 to the top, 50 to the bottom. And we're halfway there, guys. All we have to do next is we're going to add a container. We're going to split it in two. One side for our yellow piece and the other side for our orange reddish piece. So I'm going to right click, or actually let's finish up our menu. We're missing our horizontal lines here. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can give your menu a border, but what I want to do, because I want the lines to actually animate across, is I'm going to add my own decorative lines. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm selecting the actual menu. I'm going to go to the inspector, and I do want to give just a little bit of space to the top and bottom here. So I'm going to do about 20 pixels on top, 20 pixels on the bottom. And what also, if you guys saw that, it also increased the size of our buttons here because the buttons are 100% width, or excuse me, 100% height. Again, also why I like working in percentages and not in numbers, because if I left these in numbers, I would have to go back in there and tweak them. So percentages are great. All right, I'm gonna go back to my quick add. I'm gonna go to decorative, and I'm gonna grab two horizontal lines. And I'm going to drop them right inside of our container here. I'm going to set this to go across the entire, all of our columns here by basically holding shift and selecting all of these boxes. So I'm allowing that line to go across the entire span of those grid cells. And instead of 15%, we want 100%. And we're going to line this line to the top and to the left. So we have our first line here. We're going to make it a little bit thicker. We're going to go to the design tab in the inspector, it is already 3. I think that's fine, but we're definitely going to make this line, make sure it's black. And I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom, but before I do that and before I step on glass, guys, I dropped a glass in my studio a little bit earlier. So let's make sure that doesn't happen. All right, so I'm going to go to my elements here, or excuse me, my layers. And I'm going to name this top line. I'm going to Control D or Command D if you're on a Mac to duplicate it. And I'm going to name this bottom line. And so what we're going to do here. Oh, oops. This is the bottom line. Here we go. So I am going to align this line to the bottom here and to the left. Now, what I want to do as well is there is a very minimal, there's like 1 pixel. If you look at this, it's not going to be able, I'm not going to be able to zoom in, but this line that we have at the bottom is actually going across our button. So it's not 100% flush to the it's not as flush as this top line is to that top grid. What we need to do is actually do a negative margin for this bottom line so that it's actually touching the bottom of our grid cell. So I'm going to select the bottom line. I'm going to go and scroll down all the way down to our margin, and I'm going to type in -1 pixel. And I'm basically going to keep going down until this line, this bottom line, is in tandem or exactly on the same line as this login line is. So I'm going to do one more, -2, -3. There we go. So now everything is lined up. All right, there we have our menu, guys. Next, we're going to right click. We're going to work on this 3rd row. We're going to right click, quick add, and we're going to drop in a container. We're going to scale this. We're just going to stretch it. We're going to make sure we turn off the gray. We're going to apply a grid. We're going to do a 2x1 so we have nice 2 columns. And I'm going to change the grid layout so in our advanced mode, we're going to, instead of having equal sides, we're going to set our right side to about 60%, just like this. And our left side will be 40%. And we're going to go ahead and hit done. From here, we're going to bring in our yellow container and our orange container here. Again, very easy. I'm going to right click, quick add container. I'm going to pull it into the left side here. I'm going to stretch it to this exact container. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the inspector, immediately to the background color. And these theme colors I have given you guys in the asset folder or the asset libraries that, again, you guys can find down in the description. You'll have all the fonts, all the colors that you can apply. First things first, I'm going to apply our yellow. And I am going to press Control D to get another container. I'm going to pull this over to our right hand side and stretch. Go to our background color and change this to orange. All right, now what we're going to do is we are going to add our text, our button, and then we're going to add our content over here, then our animations, so that we get the final product of this beautiful animation. Okay, so let's keep going. Up next, again, I'm going to right click in our yellow container here. We're going to do a quick add. Title. I am very quickly going to copy this so I don't have to rewrite this. Double click, paste, and let's find a nice size. Maybe we'll do 60 pixels for right now. We're gonna pull this out. And now for some of you guys in the live chat might have actual question as to why, even though my box is pulled out this far, why aren't the words going and following the box? And it's because I've actually physically hit enter to make these lines, or to make the 3 lines. So for example, there are some people who have been asking, especially in our Discord, you know, hey, I'm having a little bit of some challenges with my text, especially with wrapping. It's not wrapping how I like, you know, how I would like, you know, and they have to go in and they have to push, pull, and you mess with percentages. If you're really just trying to do something simple, just keep things simple. And the way that I like to do that is if I know I want 3 lines on every breakpoint, I'm just, instead of having, instead of trying to mess with the numbers, just hit enter on all, like on one line. We help to hit enter, regain your enter confidence. And that way I don't have to deal with the numbers. All I need to deal with is maybe the text scaling. Okay. Edit text. And what I would like to do, okay, I think this works out for right now. I'm gonna get into our button situation. So again, all I'm gonna do is quick add button, and we're going to design this how we would like. So border or corners, we're gonna set this to 0. We're gonna pull out the size of the button that maybe we want, just by eye, and we are going to put 5-minute test. Change text, 5 minutes, 5-minute test. All right, perfect. So now let's talk about how we get this interaction here, where when I hover over, we get a nice little yellow box and an orange box pop out. So let's talk about that. So what I've done here is we have our button, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, quick add, and just add another basic container. And I'm going to make it the exact same size as our button here. So I'm going to select my button, go to layout, and select the actual width and height of this button, or just copy them. And I'm actually going to make our width a little bit even. We're going to make it 180. So I'm going to give this container 180 pixels of width, and the height I'm going to set it to 60. I'm going to copy that, go to my container, minimum height, we're going to do 60, and perfect. We have an equivalent, a container equivalent of our button here. Now what I want to do to this is I'm going to go to design, I'm going to select the background, we're going to set that to our yellow color, we're going to get a border involved, we're going to set this to black, and we are going to set this to a width of 2, and we're going to set it to a width of 3. All right, and now I'm going to duplicate this, Control D. We have another container, and all we're going to do is we're going to change this to orange. And so all I'm going to do here is I'm going to select all of these, and I am going to stack them. So I'm going to pull this in, just like that. And this orange, I don't want to attach. This is one thing I want you guys to be aware of. You see that blue message that says attach? I don't want to attach it. I simply just want to drag this on, and I'm using my shift and my arrow keys just to make sure that these are on top of one another here. And a quicker way, since this is actually what we're gonna have to animate it, what we're gonna have to animate, how did I do that? I did a very interesting shortcut there. I don't know what I did. Anyways, while we try to figure that out on the back end, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all of these, go to my background here, or my layers panel, and I'm gonna select all of these. I'm gonna name them. We're gonna do orange. We'll call it red. I can't decide. Red container. We're gonna call this yellow. And we are going to select all of them holding shift, and I'm going to use my alignment tools just to put them on top of one another, just like this. Now all I need to do is go back into my assets or my layers panel, just like this, and I'm going to change the hierarchy. So the button goes first, and let's see, we have yellow then orange. So we'll put the yellow in front of our red or our orange, and there we go. So now what I want to do is I want to place all of this into its own container. So I'm going to select my 5-minute button, the yellow and the red. I'm going to place in container just like this. Now I'm double checking to make sure all of this got into our container. I'm going to call it our button container. Now I do see that the red container did get left out, so I'm going to copy this, Control X or cut it, select my button container, paste, and I'm going to put this back into the correct order. So button, yellow container, red container. I believe that's what it is. Yes, perfect. So to get the animation that we want is to go into our interactions here. Boom. And I'm going to select add a trigger. I'm going to go to hover. And oops, I also want to make sure that I'm actually selecting the correct element. I'm not. I'm selecting the orange one. So let's go to my layers here. Let me select button container. And when we hover on the button container, we want to make sure that we move independently the red container and the yellow container. So we're going to add a trigger, hover, affected element. We're going to choose on canvas. We're going to go to our layers, select the yellow container. We're going to select done. We're going to apply an effect, and we're going to do a custom effect. We're going to do yellow. We're going to call this yellow container move, and we're going to hit start designing. So what we're going to do is we are going to offset or translate this yellow box about 5 pixels to the right and 5 pixels down. Maybe we'll do 6. Maybe we'll do 6 for the X and Y, and we'll hit done. That's the first one. We're going to do the exact same for the orange. So we're going to add a new interaction. We're going to change the affected element, choose on canvas, back to our layers, red container, hit done. The effect, we're going to make another new custom one. We're going to call this red container move. Start designing. And now we're going to do double the amount of translation or movement. So instead of 6 for the X and Y, we're going to do 12. 12 to the X, 12 pixels to the Y, and hit done. So what I'm going to do now is we are going to very quickly do a quick preview. And there we go. So we have our button. Now what we need to change is the hover on this button. We don't want it to actually go to blue. So we're going to go to edit, select our button, go to design, hover, and we're going to change this from that nice saturated blue to black. And there we go. So I'm going to preview, and there we have our nice little button animation. Looking good. I thought that was really cool when I figured that out. All right, so we're already halfway through. The last thing that we're going to go ahead and do on the left-hand side, or 2 more things, is we're going to select our main text here and our container. So we're going to select our container, our text. We're going to left align these, and we will stack them so that we can move them in unison, just like that. Up next, we are going to go and add another a vertical line from our decorations. We're going to pop it right into our yellow container. We're going to go to our inspector, our layout. We're going to right align, and we're going to set the height to 100%. We're going to align it to the top. Going to go to the design tab here, and we're going to make this black. And we are going to also set the width to 3 pixels. And I think it already has that, which is fine. Let's see, maybe we'll do 2. Maybe you don't want it as thick. No, I think 3 was perfect. Now, as you can see, it's probably easier to tell here. That black line is not 100% at the edge of the yellow container. So we're going to give it, just like we did to our menu, some negative margin. So I'm selecting our line, going to layout, and I am going to go to our margin, the right side margin, and I'm going to do a -1 pixels. Go back to preview. Perfect, and it's right on that line. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Oh, my bad, guys. My image is blocking the button for you guys. Thank you, Isaac. Hopefully you guys see it now. This is what we're looking for in terms of our in terms of the actual button animation. Thank you guys in the live chat for keeping up with me and also letting me know how things are looking. I appreciate that. I really got to be wary of the things on the left hand side, so I can actually like maybe change my image around, or I can change where I am at in the live stream so you guys can see it. All right, so what we're gonna do, so we're done with our left side here. We're gonna start moving into our left, and this is really simple. This is where we're just gonna grab a shape and we're gonna pull in this lady's photo. So I'm gonna select my right side of our right side grid cell. I'm gonna quick add, and I'm gonna grab a shape. I'm gonna change the basic shape. I'm gonna use a little bit of a, I guess what is called a frame. I'm gonna add this to page, and I'm just gonna pull this to essentially a size that and shape that I really like. This looks about pretty good to me. I'm gonna change the color of this to our yellow. I'm also gonna give this a border, apply a border, give the width to be about 3, and I'm gonna scale this to a size I like. Just holding shift again so we hold that aspect ratio. And I can center this manually just like we see here. And I have some nice purple lines. Again, Editor X helping me out. Now, one thing I could say is I could, for example, I could shorten this. I might not need this entire thing, but the thing is, if I start to shorten this, I start to lose the shape that I want. So what I might do is just push off some of the excess shape off the page here. And some of you guys might still see your shape. To very quickly change or fix that, so make sure that first off your shape is inside your orange container. Go to your inspector, layout tab, and go to overflow content, and instead of show, go to hide. You should then be able to clip whatever is outside of your container. So we have our shape in play, holding shift to scale it up just a little bit more. Using my alignment tools to center it. And let's see, we're gonna go ahead and grab our lady's photo. So all I'm gonna do is right click, quick add, image, and pull this right here, change image. We're gonna grab the lady's photo, and I'm gonna hold shift. Well, first off, I already see a little bit of a cutoff on her head, so we need to readjust the size of this image. How we do that is click on this settings, reset image. There we go. Now we have her in the exact aspect ratio in which we've uploaded her. And I'm just gonna hold shift and scale the size of her that I want. I'm gonna push this all the way to the bottom. Again, I can use my alignment tools to do that. align to the bottom, align to the center. Do the same with our shape here, align to the center. Now to fix basically everything, one of the things I want to double check is, after deleting this footer, because we're not going to use that, is I want to make sure that this entire section that we are editing actually is 100% VH. And while editing this, as you guys can see, and it's because I've changed some of the settings as well, our vertical height went from 100% VH to 143 VH. Reason being is it probably had to do with something that I changed with my grid here, setting this to auto. Because basically what that means is, hey, EditorX, everything that I put in here, please just keep expanding that the height until basically to fit everything that I'm trying to put in there, making sure that it fits. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my inspector panel to constrain our entire section to 100% vertical height. Go back to the inspector, 100% VH. Minimum height, we're going to set this to none. And so now we have a pretty nice spot in which to start editing. Now, I'm going to go to advanced mode in our section here. Now we do have, as you guys can see, there is a little bit, like this is great. This was 100% vertical height. This is what we can edit within. There is some content that is going over that, and we need to figure out why that is and basically rectify what's going on there. So I'm going to go into my containers here, and I'm going to try to figure out, and I bet it's because of the stretched portions here. So I'm going to select both of my containers, unstretch them. Perfect. There we go. And I'm going to re-stretch them. Okay. Actually, not sure if that actually helped. So we have our section. I'm going to Control Z on that. I'm going to just set the width of these to 100. Okay. Height, we're going to take off the minimum height there, set this to 100%. Okay, because sometimes using stretch, it makes things, it wonks things out a little bit. So I'm basically just looking at things, why isn't it working, and going through my settings and being like, oh, well, this setting is overriding this setting is making it everything go past the 100% vertical height. So again, there is a lot of art and science that you have to do with this. You kind of have to, you know, I've already built this, and some of the things that I'm seeing happen, you know, it didn't happen the first time because I'm building it in a little bit of a different sequence. So I just need to keep my eyes open and look to make sure that all of my settings are fitting. Minimum height, we're going to set that to none. Height, we're going to set that to 100%. Okay. All right, this looks much better. So now we can actually get an accurate view of what 100% viewport height looks like, and we're going to start moving and scaling our content so it all fits in 100% vertical height. Okay, I'm scaling down the girl. I'm going to scale down my shape here, just like this. Center that. Uh-oh. Hold on, let me turn off some of my dockings. I see things are moving in a little bit of an awkward fashion. I'm gonna not display the girl here real quick. Don't display. This shape, I know it's giving me problems because of how long it is. So I need to set up some docking. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna pull this down. Make sure it's in this actual, not the center. I'm gonna make sure it's centered horizontally though, or vertically. Okay. I'm gonna bring back our girl layer. I'm gonna center this. No, center the girl, not the image, or the shape rather. There we go. I'm gonna go back to my basic shape layer. I'm gonna use my arrow keys to move this down, and for some reason that is not allowing me to do that. And I wonder if it's because it's automatically tried to dock. Yeah, it's automatically trying to dock here. So let's see, can I just pull you down? All right, we might have to leave it like that. Or what I can do, and I really don't want to, is actually change the height of that shape. A really easy way around this is honestly to upload either your own SVG so that you get the exact shape that you want and you not have to kind of go through this, which I did before, but I wanted to show you guys how you could also use EditorX native shapes. But this is not looking too bad. We'll just rock with that. All right, so we have that. I feel like it needs to be a little bit bigger, but we'll see. I guess this will work for right now. So let's preview this really quick, or let's go to, I'm gonna publish this. I'm not gonna view the site just yet. I am going to set this. I'm gonna go to my pages, and we're gonna set this as home page for right now. Or actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I am going to set, I'm gonna call this about for right now, about us. And I'm gonna manage our menu here. And this about us, I'm gonna change. Change link, page, and I'm gonna use this about us. So at least I can go from the home page to our original design back and forth. So I'm gonna publish because I don't wanna have too many tabs open. So I'm gonna view site. All right, this is the original. Okay, let's go to about us really quick. And this is what we're building thus far. We have our buttons. We are going to need to change the hover of our menu, and we're gonna need to fix the size of this, and then we'll get to our animation, okay? So let's go ahead and start with this. I am going to set the width of this animation, or this image, we're gonna set maybe to 60%. And we're gonna give it some negative margin so it goes a little bit further down into the container, giving it some space. So we're gonna do negative 10 pixels. Negative 20. Maybe we'll do negative 50. Okay. We're gonna go to our basic shape and kind of do the same thing here. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna do negative 200 and negative 180. Find a good spot for it. There we go. We're gonna take out the margin from the right because we don't necessarily want that. That was added automatically. And I think maybe we're gonna stick this with the 30% here. We'll do 32. 31. All right. All right, from here, let's go ahead. Let's go back and publish. I'm not gonna go exactly just yet because we wanna change some of the things in our menu. So we're gonna select our menu, go to our inspector, go to our design tab, and we're gonna go to hover. First things first is we're gonna change this color from that blue to our nice orangey red. This will be our hover. Now clicked, we're gonna do the same thing, move it from our blue to our red here. So now our regular will be black, our hovered will be that nice orange red, and our clicked will be our nice orange red. As you can see, we're on the about us right now just because I don't want to keep going back and forth on the published website. So, and we're gonna do the same thing to our buttons here, our login and sign up, our hover. We have a blue background. We're gonna switch it to a gray background. And we're gonna go to our text and we want a black text. There we go. Sign up, same thing. We're gonna click our sign up, click, go to hover. We don't want the blue. We're gonna set this, we're just gonna keep it black with white text. Perfect. So let's do a quick preview. All right, we have our nice hovers with the red and orange. And our hovers for our log in and sign up are as it should be. What I do want to fix here is our border kind of gets disappears here with the login button. So we're going to go ahead and make sure we keep that border here. Making sure we're selecting our hover, border. We're going to make sure it keeps the opacity to 100, and we're going to keep that color to be black. Now I do see a little bit of space, like there's some negative margin, like our button is going a little bit further outside of that grid cell. So I'm going to check out my layout here and see if there's any margin at play. Let's see. It looks like there's margin here. We're going to set that to 0. What's going on here? Maybe I just need to center align this inside of that box. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. All right, so I'm going to publish this again. View site. Again, this is the one that this is the finished one, guys. This is what we're working up to. Let's go to About Us. All right, we have our image here. I want to make this a little bit bigger. As you guys can see, this is way bigger. Okay. So I might actually reference what we actually did on that home page. So let me go to my pages. Let's go to home. And let's see what we're working with. So we've set this to about 60, about 70% width. And we've set this shape to 42. So let's go ahead and do that to ours as well. Let's go back to our About Us page. We're going to do 70%. And I'm going to actually remove the negative margin here. And I'm going to go to my shapes here. I'm going to set this to about 40. The width of 40%. And I don't want to do a preview. I want to do a publish. Let's go and publish. Let's view site. Let's close out the other one. Let's go to our About Us. And all right, so we're looking pretty good. Very nice. We have our login, we have our sign up. All right, guys, whew, we have the foundation. Let's go ahead and now get into the animating portion of this. So all I'm gonna do is, this is what I like about Editor X. The animations are super smooth and super easy to apply. And probably the easiest portion of what we're gonna be doing today. So we want everything. Again, let's just do a quick little look of how we are going to animate this site. Okay, this is what we're gonna end up with. So how I'm gonna start with this is I'm gonna select my text. All my animations are presets. So I'm gonna select this diamond here, and I'm going to, so let me actually go back and we have all these presets, but we're gonna use fly in, or I believe it's float in, or maybe it's fade in. Nope, it's float in. And I'm gonna go to customize, and I'm gonna do from bottom. And I want this to only animate one time. So it should look like this. There we go. And now we're gonna do that in sequence with all of our other content. Now, really quickly, I do want to, let's refresh. So this comes first, our menu comes second. So we're gonna start with this animated, our menu, our login, our sign up, and then our 2 horizontal bars. So let's get started. So next, selecting my menu, animate. We're gonna do a float in, again, customized from the bottom. We're gonna do a little bit of a delay because we want things in sequence, right? So our wellness partner, that was at 0 delay. We're gonna start adding in a 0.3 delay. Login, animate, float in. From the bottom, we're gonna do a 0.6 delay. Sign up, animate, float in. From the bottom, we're gonna do a 0.8 delay. Animate for the first time. And I'm going to make sure I have that animate for the first time selected on all our other content. Perfect. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and do the same to our top and bottom lines. I'm going to go to animate. We are going to do instead reveal, customize, and so you guys can kind of see what that looks like. I can press play here to show you what that looks like. So it's kind of wiping across the screen. We're going to set the delay to about, we'll do about 1 whole second. We're going to animate it once. We're going to do the same to our bottom line here. Scroll to the bottom, reveal, customize from the left. We're going to do a second delay. Animate once. And real quick, let's go ahead and preview this. All right, so we're looking pretty good. We are looking pretty good. So I'm going to go back to edit site, and we have our title, we have our menu, we have our buttons, and we have our horizontal line animated. Up next, we're going to animate our left side and our right side together. So first off, we want our yellow, or actually what happens first? Let's see, let's go back to the original design. All right, so we have that vertical line come up first. So we're gonna select our vertical line here that we've made. I'm gonna go to my layer so I can actually select it. And I'm gonna animate this next. So we're gonna animate, we're gonna go to reveal, customize, delay, we want 1 point, we're gonna do 1.2. Again, we're cascading things. So I'm leaving about 0.2, 0.3 seconds in between each animation. Animate first time. After that, next we want to bring, again, we want the we're going to do reveal for our yellow container. We're going to customize it. So instead of from the left, we do it from the bottom. So it looks like this. We're going to do 1.4. And we're going to fade in the text in our 5-minute test button. Animate. Float in, customize from bottom. We're going to do 1.6. Animate one time. Container, animate. Float in, customize from bottom. I'm gonna do 1.8. Animate one time. And now we're gonna move over to our right container. We're gonna do a apply grid. Or not. I was going back into the first part of the tutorial, guys. We're gonna go to animation, and we are going to do a reveal, customize from the bottom, and we're gonna actually set this to a 2 whole seconds. I know this is long, but of course, for you guys' site, if you want to do your own thing, you can go ahead and do it. Animate for the first time. Let's actually play, see what that looks like. Boom. Perfect. We're going to now select our shape image here. Animate. And we are going to do a float in, customize from the bottom. We're going to do 2.2. Animate for the first time. We're going to select our image, and we're going to do a 2.4. And of course, you guys can select, you guys can play with this and set your own timers. This is something, it might even be too long. 2 seconds is a little long for the web guys. But, you know, I'm just trying to show you guys how this looks with a cascaded effect. Again, we're going to set this float in from the bottom. We're going to do a 2.4, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Animate for one time only. All right. So I am going to preview this. Let's take a look. Boom, boom, boom. Pow, boom, bang. All right. So we're looking good. Now what I do want to do here is this very first initial animation where we have the purple and we have that nice slide out of the white. So let's go ahead and do that. First off, I'm going to go to open up my layers. I'm going to select the page, the topmost layer, and I'm going to actually make this, instead of white, I'm going to make this our purple. Again, this is in our theme colors, this purple. And if you guys download the library, the asset library that again we have in the link in the description, you guys will have all the assets, the fonts, etc. that go along with this project. All right, so let's go ahead and make the white reveal, which is super easy. I'm just going to select my section here. I'm going to right click, quick add, and I'm going to add a shape. And we don't need a star. We're going to go ahead and go change basic shape, and we're just going to grab a basic rectangle here. And I'm going to add to page. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I want this square to go across all of the rows that we created for a section. So to do that, we're going to select this square. We're going to go over to our inspector, make sure we are in the layout tab, and we are going to hold shift and expand the element across the different cells here. So it is now in all 3 of our rows, but why it hasn't expanded yet is because it's only 10% in width for our width here. So I'm going to set this to 100, and the height I'm also going to set to 100. And I'm going to make sure that it's left aligned and centered. Now all we need to do, it is covered everything because we put it at the top of our section, or basically the top of our page. We're going to put it at the bottom here. So I'm going to basically reduce or close all of our containers. I'm going to pull our basic shape, which is we're going to call it our background color. We're going to pull it behind everything. Our wellness partner, our H2, or really it should be our H1, we're going to pull it to the top. We're going to select our background color, and we're going to set this puppy to white here. And now all we need to do is we need to set an animation to it. So we're going to set animation. We're going to put a reveal. And as you can see, there's that wipe animation. We can go to customize, and we can set the duration to a little bit quicker. So maybe we'll set it to 1. Animate 1 time. All right, let's go ahead and preview. We have purple, the slide on, boom, bam, shapow, with all the sound effects. All right, so it looks like we're good to publish. So let's go ahead and publish. Let's view the site. All right, this was the main one that we did before. So let me go ahead and go to the About Us. There we go. Looking good. Boom, boom. And we're looking clean, guys. We have our nice 5-minute test. It looks beautiful. We have our login. We have our sign up. And of course, I think what I might do here is increase the border of this login here, because it's looking a little thin there. So let's go in and do some cleanup. Let's click our login button here. Let's go to our border and let's pull this up to about 2. Let's do one more. Let's do 3. There we go. That's looking much better. Let's publish that. Let's go ahead and hit done. And let's check out the site. Let's go to About Us so we can see the one that we've built today. All right, now one of the things I do want to do is, like, we can keep tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. You guys see this? There's a little bit of a, a line discrepancy. You can see just a little bit. This login button, that line is a little bit thicker than the button that we or this line that we have going across here. And a couple things we can do to fix that is go back to our line here, go back to our layout. Instead of -3, we do -2. Or actually, we're going to keep it -3, but we're going to actually make that line just a little bit thicker than all the other lines that we've had. Border. Select the line. We're going to set this to 4. And see if that helps. There we go. That looks much better. All right. So tweaking, guys. That's all really it is. It's art and it's a science. So what we can do now, and this wasn't really planned for today, but we can go ahead and do it. Making this puppy actually responsive. And, you know, guys, today the plan was just to show you guys how to do the desktop version of this, but I would really love to hear you guys in our live chat and or some other time in our Discord, letting us know if you guys would like to see the actual, the full version of this. But, you know, we've done the desktop. The tablet and mobile really doesn't take much time, so I'm actually going to challenge myself and see if we can do it in the next 10 minutes. So let's go ahead and try. Now, for those of you guys who are brand new to Editor X, you guys might start going and pressing tablet and mobile and being like, Brandon, this does not at all look like a responsive site. It's because what we need to do, and it's very little, it's very minimal, we need to actually start working with percentages and changing how we have displayed what we have here on mobile and tablet. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to actually set some of these things to actually dock. And for those of you guys who are brand new to Editor X, what we're doing is basically what docking is saying, as we shrink or pull and contrast the window or the viewport, please just hang on to these edges. So for example, we are making this stack stick to the left and to the top. And I think, you know, for right now, I think I just wanted to stick to the left. Same thing with the images that we have here. I want it to dock to the right and to the bottom. And we want our basic shape to go from the bottom and, we're not gonna do the bottom. We're just gonna do the right here. Maybe we'll do this. No, that's gonna mess up kind of what we have. And we're going to start getting into some of our text scaling here. So I'm going to go to edit text here. I'm going to type, or basically press this button, scale text. And the largest we want our text to be is 90. And the smallest that we want our text is to be is maybe 40. And what I mean by 40 is pixels. Isaac says do responsive, please. All right. We'll go ahead and do that. So let's go see, it's already starting to change a little bit. So our wellness has shrunk. Our menu has shrunk a little bit. Login, sign up, we still is in a good position. But our menu here, you know, it's no longer in a place we really like. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just don't display this. And we are going to add instead. And there's a couple ways of really what we can do. I'm actually going to undo that. We'll fix that in a second. But the main thing that we can do here is if I go these two things, we do not want them side by side right now. We want them to actually stack. And that's a really easy thing to do. So I'm going to go to my main container here that we've made. If you guys remember, we made two sides, right? Horizontally. But now we're going to flip them. So I'm going to do change grid layout, and instead of a 2x1, we're going to flip to a 1x2. It automatically stacks it for us. And so all we need to do is now give Editor X new rules for how we want this stuff to display. So our yellow container, let's go ahead and make this, instead of a height of 100, we're going to set this, we're going to give ourselves like 500 pixels. There we go. We're going to take our stack. We're going to center this puppy, just like that. And we need to do the same for our bottom container here. Now, before we do that, our scrolling has actually stopped. Reason being is because we need to change. We need to go back to our main container here. And for those of you who are hearing me say main container, the main container that we have is, we'll call this the third row content container. So we can actually refer to it as that. So why it is stopping, as you guys can see, basically where we have told Editor X to make our container be this size. So what we're going to do here instead is we're going to set this to auto. Again, it's pretty close to max content, but basically we're telling Editor X, hey, whatever is inside here or however we have set or overridden this section in our inspector, please just take those attributes. We're going to do the same thing down here. We're going to set this to, for right now, let's just do max. Actually, let's do auto for right now. And we're going to go to our orange container here. And we are going to set a specific height to this. We're going to also set this to 500 pixels. There we go. So now let's check everything. Let's go to our menu here. Let's go to our third container, our third content container, advanced mode. All right, so this is looking correct. Now it looks like this highlighted space, it still looks like, you know, the container is still like you only have this much room. So let's figure out where that setting is coming from. And it looks like we have stretched our container, so we're going to unstretch this. And now we can unlock our settings over here. So I'm going to make sure we are in the third row. I'm going to make sure that's aligned to the top of that row. The minimum height of this row, we're going to set this to 0 because we do not want a minimum height. Our width, we want to set this to 100%. There we go. We have this to auto. All right, we're looking kind of good. Now let's go into our, let's keep checking. Boom. All right, so now see how you kind of have to like diagnose things? How you have to go into, okay, what is making inside of this container, making it only show this much? Is it something that's being overridden in our inspector, or is it within our actual grids that we've set that? So we're looking pretty good. Now we just need to do our menu here. So let's go ahead and figure this stuff out. So this menu here, basically, as what's cool about Editor X is as a menu gets shrunk down, what you get to see here is instead of all of the other menu titles, you get to basically just see more. And you can actually edit that. So let's see. So what you can do is you can go to layout and you can change what this says. I can change this into saying hi, but we're not going to do that right now. What I'm going to do instead is I'm actually going to take this entire menu, don't display it. And what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to add a mobile navigation. And to do that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my element add. I'm going to go to menus and search. I'm going to scroll down to my mobile hamburger menus here. And I am going to grab a menu and I'm just going to drop it right in this container. And now there's a couple things I can do, right? I can do, first off, I can take this container. I can move it up top. Just like this. I can very easily move things around, right? And how I did that is I basically selected this text and I'm using my grid cells to move them. So I can move this back to the top row. I can move it to the bottom. I can take this whole container of our menu container. I can move it back to the second row, the first row. There's a whole bunch of ways that I can decide to move this. So I'm going to Control Z this very quickly. I'm going to keep it here. Now, for right now, I'm trying to figure out how do I want to do this. And aesthetically too. I can very easily just move this here. Move our login buttons. Change the grid layout of these so that they're all max content. Left align this menu. It keeps trying to go into the, whatchamacallit, into the second row here for some reason. Let's see. We have our container here. Dun, dun, dun. Position. Let's see. We're going to zero out our margin. And I do want, let's see. Let's go back to the container. Change grid layout. Here we go. It's being constricted, that's why. So let me go ahead and set this to a fraction. Reason being is we want these buttons to be max content, but I want the full width that I have to play over here, so that I can set this menu over here. Now again, you guys can decide how you want to do this. Whether it is having a different type, changing the, let's type in menu here. You guys can decide what exactly you want, what type of menu you want, how you want to display it. But for right now, I'm just going to set it to this. Maybe I want to have it centered in this container. I haven't thought about this design-wise yet, guys. We're kind of doing this ad hoc. But essentially, if I preview this, okay, I can click this and it brings up a whole new menu. All right. Now, how it brings up a whole new menu is because once I open menu, I get to dictate what items, just like in our previous menu, what items, what pages we want in here. We can click manage menu and we can add or subtract the type of menu pages that we have in here. Okay. Now I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to change the layout, and I think I want to do one FR for all of these just so that they're all equal. I think that might look a little bit aesthetically better, more aesthetically pleasing. And I'm just going to set our buttons here to be 100% of whatever those widths are. Okay. And I'm going to change this one more time, change basic shape. I'm just going to have that. There you go. All right, so we're good here on tablet. Let's go ahead and do mobile. And all we need to do here is change, we're going to go to our text here, scale text. We're going to have the biggest this can be is 60. The smallest this can be is maybe 40. We're going to take this stack, we're going to center it. We also need to start to stack this, because now a lot of people, what they have challenges with on mobile is that this starts to scroll like this. So the first thing we need to do is actually make it so that the viewport is not scrolling. So how we deal with this is, first off, figure out and fix everything that is going outside of the viewport. All right. So first things first is we're going to start from the top, our title, edit text. Instead of max content, we are going to set this to a percentage. So we're going to set this to 50%. 50%. There we go. And we're going to pull this out until we have 2 lines. We're going to edit text and make sure that this is center aligned. And actually, instead of percentage, I am going to set this to pixels so that it never crosses and becomes 3 lines. I want it to stay pixels. Or I want it to stay this particular size. And so by just doing that, you guys can see that we have pulled in a little bit. We've basically lessened how much we're able to scroll horizontally. Now we're going to fix that entirely once we center this. Boom, boom. Now we do want to add back some of our margin here. We're going to set to 50 on the top, 50 on the bottom. We might keep this. I think that's fine. We're going to edit our text. We're going to set this to 30, maybe 25. There we go. Now we're going to fix some of our spacing. One of the easy things about stacks is you can very easily change the item spacing. We stacked this content where we had our text and our button, or our button container. We're going to set the item spacing to about 25. We're going to make sure our container is not this big, but we're going to set this maybe to 300 instead of 500. Maybe we'll do 400. Still give it some space here. Our basic shape, we are going to hold shift, pull this up. We're going to make sure it's aligned to the bottom, centered. Our lady photo here, we're going to scale this up. Maybe we're going to set this to about 95%. Our container, we're going to probably shorten this maybe to, let's try that 400. It's looking good. We're going to pull this down just a little bit. We'll scale it. Holding shift. Using my arrow keys to get this in a spot I like. Okay. Maybe we'll do 350 for the container height. I'm constantly testing this. All right, let's go to preview. All right, one of the things that we do need to edit, and as you guys can see, the animations stay as they were on desktop. We can change them and they will change for our different formats. That'll take a little bit more time, but we're looking pretty good. Okay, we still have a little bit of horizontal, so we need to find why exactly we have that horizontal scrolling. And I believe it is this line right here. So this line that is over here, we no longer need that. So I'm gonna click on it, hit these three dots, and I'm gonna hit don't display. And perfect. That's exactly why, the reason why we had a little bit of movement horizontally is because we did a negative, if you guys remember on desktop, we did like a -1 pixel margin tweak. And so let's go ahead and preview this one more time. We do need to add a little bit of an animation to this menu here. Let's go ahead and click on this. Let's go to our button here. Let's go to the animation. We have float in. Let's look at the timing. It's 0.8. So we're going to go here, animation, float in. We're going to do a 0.9. And we're going to do a from bottom, only animate the first time. Let's go ahead and preview. Boom, boom, boom. All right, our content is a little gone. It was taking a little bit long, so we're going to reduce the time it takes to come in. So let's, I refreshed the entire page. Didn't mean to do that. But I'm glad we're actually doing the full responsive. How do you guys feel in the live chat? How do you feel about seeing this entire process? Okay, let's go back to our correct page, about us. Okay, so we have our tablet looking good. Let's do our mobile, it's looking good. Now, I do want to preview this. Boom, 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 boom. Now, when we scroll, why this is taking so long is because the delay that we have is basically telling Editor X, once things are in view, or as things come into view, wait this long before you show it. So what we're going to do, that's why this basically takes so long to come into view. So we're going to go back, we're going to select our image, animation, we're going to customize, and we're going to set this delay back to 0. Go to my layers. Select my basic here, customize, delay, set this to 0. Now I do want a cascading effect, so I want the shape to come in first. So we'll do 0.2. Image. We want this to come in a little bit after. So actually basic shape should be no delay. Image should be 0.2. Perfect. So let's check it out. Let's go to preview. I'm going to refresh one more time. I want to make sure that we're starting up here. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. So nice and easy. Now, what I will say is the pieces up here can use a little bit of help or tweaking, not help. But as you guys can see, that long line that's showing, that can be tweaked. But we did pretty good, guys. Now, the only thing I would say is as we start to pull things out like this is when we start needing to do even more tweaking. For example, I knew that this was going to happen, especially on mobile. So how we diffuse that? So let's click back here. Let's go to text. Width 282. Let's see if we can do percentage. Let's see if this helps us out. Okay, there we go. It's much more responsive there. We're now on tablet. We're looking good. And now we're on desktop. All right, so let's go ahead and publish this. Let's look at the full site. Let's make sure we're going to the About Us. Boom, boom, boom. Looking good. Let's minimize. All right, now let's pull in. Pull. Now again, this is something, what we can do is how we fix this is using strict pixels. Pull. All right, we have our tablet. We need to fix the animation here, but so far we're looking pretty good. Squeeze, and now we have the tablet version, or excuse me, the mobile version, and we could add just a little bit of margin at the top here. So let's go ahead and fix some of that. Okay, so first things first, let's go to desktop. Let's select our text here. Inspector, width, rather than 100%, let's go ahead and do max content. And this is exactly what I was talking about. I must have undid it. So we're here to, oh, hold on, not we're here. We help to regain your confidence. There we go. Select both of these, left line. I'm going to set this to max content. Let's go ahead and see. All right, so now it doesn't squeeze, right? But now it's running into our other page. We don't want that. So let's go into our edit text. We're going to do text scaling. Our max is going to be 60 pixels. Our minimum is going to be, let's try 30. All right, let's go ahead and start pulling this in. We're looking good, we're looking good, we're looking good. All right, so we're gonna do a little bit smaller. We're gonna do 25. Or maybe even 20. Yeah, so we're looking good. So there's our first problem solved. Looking good, looking good. Now right here, I don't like how close everything is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and I am going to add a little bit of padding to the top. So we're going to do about 25 pixels, maybe even 50, so that nothing really touches that very top of the page. So let's go ahead. Okay, we're looking good. All right, let's go here. We're going to add that rule here as well. We're going to go to our container. Padding. From the top, we're going to do about 50 pixels. Okay. I don't want to be like in a box, like, you know what I mean? All right, so now what we need to do, I'm going to go to preview. All right, we need to fix this as well. So that red, I think we're not, for our tablet and mobile versions, I think we're not going to have the background red actually animate. We're just going to have none because I want that to be there. Preview. When I scroll down, then the items within it will animate. All right, perfect. Looking good, looking good. All right, I'm gonna publish one more time. And we are gonna go through and comb through the entire thing. Let's go to About Us. All right, I need to actually go to do this as well. I think I took off the animation basically off of everything. So I'm gonna set this back to reveal. For the desktop specifically, from the bottom. Animate one time. And I want to see what these. I think because I changed this stuff on mobile, it went up and changed things. Yeah, it did. So I guess that's a new one to me. So we're gonna have to change pretty much all this stuff back. So let's go here to this container. We're gonna do, this is 0.8, so this must be 0.9. Or we're gonna do 2. Our background shape is gonna be 2.2. Okay, our girl is going to be 2.4. I wonder if I change things out of, let's go and publish that. Because you should be able to change animations. All right, boom, boom. Okay. Yeah, so this, we need to set that to animate one time. Let's go here, animate, customize. All right, we do have it as one time. Mobile, animate, customize, one time. I wonder why it's doing it more than once then. I wonder if it's resetting because I'm rescaling it. That could be the case. But let us, from a responsive standpoint though, we have exactly what we need. We have a good amount of space for the bottom tier. We have a good amount of space for our middle section here. And we can always make this scale even more. We have our menu works. We can continue to scale this, boom. I think another thing I would want to do is we get a little, we're seeing a bit of our border here of this line. I probably want to remove that. So let's go to tablet. Let's go to this line here. I am going to don't display. There we go. That removes that horizontal line. Perfect. I'm going to go to our text element here where maybe we want this to scale to minimum 35 because we still have a good amount of space. Okay, that works for me. All right, I'm liking that. So let's go ahead and publish that. Let's check one more time. Where again, we're working through all of the, we're troubleshooting, right? This is how we get a perfect site. All right, we're looking good here. It's looking good. Let's make it smaller. Main menu pops in. And you know what I think this animates in is because it's the first time that it is animating in, since it's basically a new instance of the site. So that makes sense because it wasn't in existence on the desktop version. All right, we're looking good here. Let's go ahead and pull this down. And guys, there we have it. We're looking good. That is from end to end how you develop a site in Editor X from beginning to end to responsive with animations, and I hope you guys are in love with this and get to try out, you know, this yourself in Editor X. Again, one thing I did not mention is I did this a little bit earlier, but one thing you will need to do, especially if you have a members website, is when you go to add elements here, you need to go to your members site and you need to, or this members section, and actually add it to your site so you can actually have a members back end of your website. For example, if I go to Content Manager, what you'll see if you go to members and you haven't added it to your site is you will see add to site. I've already done that, so I get all of these options to add for my members. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I will take my face off of the screen so you guys can see what this looks like in total. Give me a hot second here. All right, let's go ahead and refresh. That is delicious. Look at how nicely that scales, guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that is what we have for today. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We went for an hour and a half to build an entire site from desktop all the way to responsive, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you guys want to ask more questions or you guys just want to check out Editor X, guys, Editor X is 100% free. You guys can check that out down in the description. Get your free started, get your journey on building free no-code websites today. Join me on this channel for really just more tutorials for beginners, for more intermediate and advanced users, and definitely don't join our Discord so you guys can join hundreds of other creatives on this no-code journey like yourselves and get your questions asked, etc. So with that said, hope to see you guys in Discord, and I'll see you there. So if you have any questions, join us and we'll happily help you. Peace.